Welcome to NarrativeNook audio tales where enchanted stories come to life. If you enjoy our stories, please subscribe, like and share to support our channel. Enjoy listening.
While they were in the hospital room, Ella helplessly muttered, "Actually, you don't need to stay. You should go home and get some rest. Just go to sleep if you've got nothing else on your mind. I can get my rest anywhere and anytime." Patricia up to the couch, pulled a blanket over herself, and laid down. "Let me know if you need anything," she said as she looked at him. "Okay." Ella sighed in defeat after returning Patricia's gaze. He was looking at the couch where Patricia was, shaking his head before laying down as well. Though Patricia had stayed to take care of him on her own volition, he truly hoped that she would just leave and get some sleep back in the comforts of her own home. However, it was evident at this point that Patricia would not listen to him. She would stay and accompany him through the night. "Forget it. I'm just going to keep quiet so that she can get some shut-eye," he thought. What he did not know was that Patricia was not able to sleep. Though she looked like she was already fast asleep on the couch, her mind was in a swirling vortex. All she could think of was the moment when she turned around to see Ella shielding her from the blow she had failed to anticipate, followed by the image of blood gushing out of his arm after the slash had connected. That was the moment that had shocked her to the very core. To her, Ella had always been a vulnerable target in need of protection, much like a helpless younger brother to Nicole. That was why she had never thought that he would step forward to shield her. There was also a strange and indescribable feeling stirring within her, but no matter what she did to process her emotions, the confusion only seemed to be mounting. Meanwhile, Nicole and Jared were already on their way home. "Mr. Johnston. The incident was likely perpetrated by the Eastern Falcon organization," Max said. "But have we caught anyone yet?" Jared asked coldly. "Not yet, but Charlie is already on it." Max hesitated for a moment. "Perhaps the guy we've previously apprehended was just a foot soldier. The other possibility is that they have deployed new members for their latest assault. If neither was the case, capturing one of their men should have dealt a massive blow to them. Realistically, it would be impossible for them to switch tactics and targets in such a short span of time just because Ella was found to be well guarded. It would have taken them a fair bit of prep time to have done so." "That's possible." Nicole's eyes darkened. "Their analysis makes sense when you put it that way." After a brief moment of hesitation, Nicole softly said, "It seems that we'll have to expedite our operations with Zane." "Has there been no news from Zane recently?" Max asked. With a frown, Nicole softly muttered, "Nope. Everything seems a little too quiet on his end as well." And after careful consideration, Nicole took her phone out and called Zane. "Hey. I'm sorry to bother you at this hour, but something happened on my end," Nicole said, going straight to the point. "It's okay. I'm not hitting the sack yet. Go ahead and tell me about it," Zane replied. He knew that Nicole would not be calling at this time of the night if she did not have anything important to tell him. Then, Nicole went on to describe the assault on them that had occurred today. After hearing her account of the events that had transpired, Zane remained silent for a moment. "We've not noticed any movements from Everett recently. It's as if he has disappeared. I wonder what he's up to," Zane said once the delay was over. "So, you suspect that this incident might be connected to Everett?" Nicole's eyes narrowed. About a week ago, Patricia had tasked someone to tail Damien, and there, they discovered that he had been getting himself involved in mysterious dealings with someone on a daily basis, someone seemingly related to the organization, Eastern Falcon. However, Damien himself did not have any means of contacting them, so there was only one possibility: Everett had entered the picture. And now, Everett seemed to have disappeared again, an act which further supported their theory of what was going on. "We can't be sure now. It just seems too coincidental," Zane added. "Yeah, it does seem suspicious," Nicole said, feeling that Zane's speculation made sense as well. "In that case, we'll continue to track Everett. You need to be more vigilant in San Joto. If you're short on manpower, I can send more of our members over," Zane stated, showing his concern for Nicole's situation. It's okay. We're still able to hold our own for now. It's just that the recent events have been rather weird, so I wanted to share some information with you, Nicole responded. All right, if you need anything, feel free to reach out to me anytime, Zane agreed. Yeah, that's it for now, Nicole replied and hung up. Isn't he with Lawrence? Max's eyes widened in surprise. How could Everett go missing? He probably weaseled his way out of Lawrence's hideout, Nicole snorted. Everett had only enlisted Lawrence's help to flee San Joto. It just so happened that Lawrence had decided to detain him there after they had both left the city. To flee at the slightest opportunity is something you can always expect from Everett. Does Lawrence know about Everett's disappearance? Max wondered aloud. He might, but as to whether he knows where Everett went, we can't be certain. Nicole sighed. After all, Everett would definitely elude Lawrence's vast surveillance apparatus if he truly was determined to escape. Now, the question that needed answering was, where would Everett go after he had fled Lawrence's hideout? At the end of the day, Lawrence was a force to be reckoned with, and there would be very few places in which Everett could hide even if his escape was a success. The Eastern Falcon headquarters. Nicole thought out loud without if Everett was truly involved with the Eastern Falcon organization. The only also have received help from them to break himself out of Lawrence's base where he was held. Creasing her forehead, she wondered, is it possible that Everett and the Eastern Falcon have made a deal? By the time Nicole arrived home, it was already late at night. Noticing how tired she looked, Jared gently caressed her hair and said, "You should sleep earlier today." "Yeah," Nicole responded, after which she laid down with Jared and fell asleep. The next day, the sun was bright and warm. After they have had their breakfast, Nicole and Jared headed straight to the hospital. The sight of Ella looking much better and stronger made her breathe a sigh of relief. "Looks like you're recovering well." At this rate, Ella might experience a full recovery very soon, and that was more than enough to put Nicole at ease. "It is just a minor injury. You don't really need to worry about me," Ella said as he scratched his head. "Did you inform your parents about this?" Nicole asked. If everyone in the family was made aware of the fact that he had been hospitalized, they would most likely be on edge. In response, Ella shook his head and smiled. "No, I told them I went on a business trip and will be back in a few days. His family would not have to get all worried sick if he returned home after his injury had completely healed." "That's good. Otherwise, it would only make them anxious." It was indeed a good idea to keep this from them, as news about his injury would do nothing but stress them out. "However, I can't hold off on my work, so I'll have the procedures of my discharge completed in a bit. After that, I'll be heading to my office. I'm planning to stay there for a few days. Once my injury is gone, I'll go back home." Ella gestured at his arm. His idea was that returning home at this time would only stir up more unnecessary drama, so it would be better for him to stay in his office. "Staying in your office isn't exactly going to help your recovery, you know." Nicole furrowed her brows. Having made his decision, Ella looked at Nicole and replied, "It will. I'll be there every day, and I won't have to move around before and after work. In fact, I think my injuries might even heal faster, and it won't affect my work. It's a win-win situation no matter how you look at it. Rest assured, I can take care of myself." Nicole then turned to Patricia, and in a voice brimming with concern, she asked, "How are you? Did you rest well?" "You don't have to worry about me, Ms. Riddle. I slept well," she replied and shot Ella a glance without realizing it. He was completely silent last night, and had probably done so on purpose to avoid disturbing her. As for the investigation, leave it to Charlie and Max. You should just focus on Damien. Nicole pursed her lips. She knew that Patricia was still feeling somewhat guilty and remorseful over the events of last night, even though it was not her fault. This was compounded by the fact that Patricia had already detected her enemies earlier on and had arranged her defense plans in anticipation of what was to come. Unfortunately, the outcome of the encounter was regrettably well beyond her control. But now that Ella was fine and there were breakthroughs in their investigation, none of that mattered anymore. Soon, the results would be revealed. I understand, Ms. Riddle. Don't worry, Patricia said and nodded. In fact, Patricia had her own set of speculations as well. Following Damien's lead was the right course of action, and she had an inkling that the person who had agreed to meet Damien would soon surface. All right, that's settled then, Nicole said, and glanced at Ella. We'll be leaving now. Yeah, don't worry. I'm good here. Ella nodded. Ms. Riddle. Patricia paused and shot Nicole a hesitant look. This prompted Nicole to raise an eyebrow. Do you have something else to say? Patricia hesitated again. I'll be heading to the company later. I must take him to his office first. Understanding what Patricia's intentions were, Nicole said, You're worried about him, aren't you? In that case, you can stay at Bay Corp. There's nothing urgent for you to deal with at work, and I can assign your tasks to other people. After all, Patricia's primary responsibility was investigating Damien, so she could work wherever she wanted, and it would not make a difference at all. Well, Patricia trailed off, having caught herself by surprise, for the last place she had expected to stay in was Bay Corp. Thank you, Nicole, Ella happily responded. If that was the case, he would love to have Patricia keeping him company. He did not need her to take care of him, but being able to see her around was a blessing in itself. All right, I'm leaving, Nicole said, before linking arms with Jared and leaving the ward. Goodbye, Nicole and Jared. Ella was overjoyed. As for Patricia, she could only stand there and breathe a mental sigh. Maybe I shouldn't have suggested it, but his injury. After Nicole and Jared had exited the hospital, they got into their car. Mr. and Mrs. Johnston? Zane just sent us a message. It seems that Everett was broken out and taken away by the members of Eastern Falcon, Max reported. I thought so, Nicole replied. The revelation did not surprise her at all. If Everett had indeed left Lawrence's base, there was only one possible place left for him to go: the headquarters of Eastern Falcon. It was a wonder as to how he had become so formidable. Obtaining the watercrest, making deals with Lawrence, and conspiring with the elusive Eastern Falcon were just a list of things he had done. It was now anyone's guess as to what else Everett had up his sleeves. Perhaps we've underestimated him from the very beginning. Nicole's eyes darkened. Initially, everyone was of the opinion that Everett was not particularly well regarded, even in Damien's family. But they had forgotten that the more inconspicuous someone seemed, the more likely they were to harbor something sinister. They should have already noticed how cunning Everett was when he went out of his way to plot against their grandfather, Benjamin. However, they had overlooked how wicked of a person he truly was because his disposition indicated nothing out of the ordinary. If Everett is indeed conspiring with Eastern Falcon, he might go big, Max remarked with concern. The fact that Everett was working with Lawrence had already put them on guard, and at this juncture, they could only wonder what else Everett might do after he joined forces with the mysterious Eastern Falcon organization. Don't worry, he won't make a move for the time being. We just need to be prepared in advance. Nicole narrowed her eyes. Even if Everett is intent on taking us down, he can't afford to act out of impulse for now. He still needs to wait for the right moment, she thought. Jared then turned to Max and ordered, "Send a message to Zane and tell him to investigate how Everett managed to contact Eastern Falcon. Find out what transactions and shared interests are involved." "Yes," Max respectfully replied. Indeed, the organization would not have worked with Everett if he did not bring something significant to the table. In the meantime, Nicole leaned back against her seat and furrowed her brows, seemingly contemplating something. "What are you thinking?" Jared asked in a soft voice. "I think our time is running out, so we should finish what he has started as soon as possible." Nicole sounded determined. Thomas looked around, and when he could not see Harvey anywhere near them, he asked, "Shall we go?" "He won't be coming. Perhaps he doesn't even know you're back," Nicole calmly stated, noticing that Thomas was searching for Harvey. "All right," he replied while hiding his true feelings about Harvey's absence. Nicole shot him another glance but refrained from saying more. They then exited the airport altogether and got into a car. Should we head back to Royal Creek Institute? Nicole asked Thomas. Royal Creek it is. I don't have anywhere else to go, Thomas said, his eyes downcast. Although he had already made a decision, there was still a sliver of hope in his heart that Harvey would stop and change for the better. That way, he could consider compromising for his grandson's sake. But as he could see, Harvey had disappointed him once again. Mr. Ellison, enduring the most difficult times often leads to a turn for the better. Nicole quipped after sensing what he was thinking of. I know. I'm just holding on to a glimmer of hope. Thomas sighed. Your hope will soon become a reality, Nicole reassured with a reasonable measure of confidence. The lesson given to Harvey this time would be one that he would never forget. Nodding, Thomas looked at her and smiled. All right, I'll wait for your good news then. In no time, they arrived at Royal Creek Institute, where they pulled up at Thomas's humble dormitory. Thomas scanned the room that had not changed during his absence, and immediately knew that Nicole had tasked a cleaner to tidy it up for him on a regular basis. Thank you for going through all this trouble for me. Thomas sighed. Nicole had taken good care of everything while he was away, and if it was not for her decision to send him abroad, Harvey might have used him as another chess piece to threaten her. Harvey stood in stark contrast to Nicole, who would regularly check in on him from time to time while he was away. The accommodation that he had been living in, as well as the caretaker who had been tending to him all this time, were all paid for and arranged by Nicole. This had led him to wonder if Nicole or Harvey was his family. At this rate, he just could not tell anymore. Mr. Ellison? Since Harvey doesn't know you're back yet, please get some rest. I'll take care of everything else, Nicole said. She could tell that Thomas was sad, so she did not want to disturb him. She figured that he should have some time to himself. Okay, you should go home too. Thomas nodded in response. After Nicole had left, Thomas sighed and wandered around, feeling beat. Then, he went up to his desk, took a document out, and began reading through it. As for Nicole, she was greeted by Lulu the instant she stepped into her office. Welcome back. Thanks. Nicole looked at Lulu and handed her a document. Thomas is back at Royal Creek, and someone is taking care of him. This was the last project they had to bag. Once they had seized it, all the major projects belonging to Ellison Group would be in their hands. Then, the company would soon suffer a financial crisis, which would rock Harvey to the very core of his being. And when Harvey finally gave in, Thomas would step up and the entire ordeal would then come to an end. Harvey should behave himself after this, Lulu commented, feeling a smug sense of satisfaction. I think so, Nicole smiled, knowing that Harvey would find it difficult to face the lesson they were about to teach him. Will there be any issues with Thomas? Lulu asked, her eyebrows raised in caution. If Thomas suddenly switched sides at this very important juncture, all of their efforts would be in vain. No, he won't, Nicole confidently stated. She knew full well that Thomas would not have returned if he had any intentions of going back on their agreement. And since he had returned, it was safe to conclude that he was mentally prepared for the outcome, and that he would not go back on his words. That's good. Lulu nodded, feeling nothing short of reassured. As long as Thomas remained firm and resolute in his stance, their plan would be secure. Now leaning on Nicole's desk, Lulu changed the subject and asked, How is Ella? I find it surprising that Patricia isn't here. Did she stay back to take care of him? Yes, Ella didn't inform his family. All he mentioned to them was he's on a business trip. He'll be staying in his office for the next few days. Patricia will be there with him, as she's worried about him, Nicole candidly blurted. It's good that she's taking care of him. You didn't see it, but when Ella lunged forward and shielded her from the attack, it was so moving. I even forgot that I was in danger for a moment. I was just so touched. Lulu shook her head. It was a situation which could have been lethal, and Ella's selfless act had left a deep, lasting impression on her. Judging from Ella's bravery, it seemed that he genuinely liked Patricia and was willing to sacrifice himself for her. About them. Nicole hesitated for a moment. Let's just allow things to unfold naturally. As far as Ella and Patricia were concerned, Nicole felt that it was best for everyone else to allow their relationship to progress and flourish naturally. She did not want to interfere and alter how the individuals involved felt about one another. If the two were destined to be together, she would support their union together. Oh, I didn't expect Ella to like someone like Patricia. He is going to be the type of man who will be completely submissive to his wife. I thought he'd prefer someone gentler and more dependent. Lulu raised an eyebrow as she thought of Patricia's cold demeanor, which often made Ella shrink in a show of submissiveness. It was amusing to witness, but also sweet in its own way. Nicole shrugged without dignifying Lulu's words with a response. She was not keen to consider whether she agreed or disagreed with that sentiment, as preferences were determined by one's feelings toward the other person at the moment, not one's willingness. Once a person caught feelings for another, nothing else mattered apart from the one they had a crush for. By the way, how's the investigation going? Lulu asked in a solemn change of tone. Charlie and Max are looking into it, but there are no results yet. Nicole sighed and apologized. I'm sorry that you guys have been dragged into this. I thought you wouldn't be targeted if you didn't know about any of this. It seems that I've underestimated them. She believed that keeping Lulu and the others uninformed and uninvolved would protect them and preclude them from being targeted, but much to their misfortune, their attackers were individuals with no moral or ethical constraints. We're family. We stick together and experience all the ups and downs together. It does not matter whether you got us into the crossfire or not. If you put it that way, we've also given you our fair share of problems. If we were as smart and capable as you are, those jerks wouldn't have targeted us either, Lulu comforted Nicole. Both you and June should be more cautious and take your safety more seriously these days. Always make sure Spencer and Samuel are there to accompany you, Nicole reminded Lulu, as she did not want anything to happen to them. Don't worry, we'll take care of ourselves, Lulu nodded. After all, Nicole would also be left to deal with an even bigger mess if the Eastern Falcon managed to get their hands on any of Nicole's family members. Seeing how serious Lulu looked, Nicole began to wonder if she should say something. She knew, deep down, that it was high time to resolve the matter as soon as possible. Avoiding and skirting around the issue would not be a viable or wise solution at all. Well, I'll get back to work then. Lulu turned around and left upon noticing how solemn Nicole looked. The last thing she wanted was to disturb Nicole any further. Then Nicole, who remained in her office, narrowed her eyes as the air around her became frosty. In her mind, there was only one way out. This issue must be dealt with as soon as possible. Meanwhile, in Bay Corp, Ella, who had just sorted through the stack of documents in his hands, saw how empty the desk was and could not help but to furrow his brows. Why are there so few documents today? Ella asked out of curiosity. You've sorted through plenty already. It's time for you to take a break now. Patricia insisted coldly the moment she came in and saw that he had completed his tasks. Oh, okay then, Ella obediently agreed, much like a well-behaved child. Even though she remained cold and distant to him, Ella was blessed and fortunate to have her around accompanying him. He really hoped life would continue the way it was. And for that, he even wished that his injuries would take longer to heal. Patricia shook her head in helplessness, not knowing what to do with Ella. At times, he would act like a child, but when the situation called for it, he would always come on top. Sometimes, he could even appear to be a little overbearing and shrewd. Yet, he would often revert to his good childlike temperament once she paid attention to him. Moreover, she had also come to learn that Ella would become exceedingly compliant and obedient in her presence. After issuing a sigh, Patricia maintained her tone of indifference and stated, "It's time to change your bandage." With that, she brought a medical kit up to Ella, ready to change his bandage. And as expected of him, Ella placed his arm on the desk, eagerly awaiting Patricia to tend to his wound. Patricia noticed that not only was Ella feeling no pain, he also looked somewhat happy. Because of this, she could not help but roll her eyes at him. He's injured. What is there to be happy about? I can never figure out what's going on in his head. Ella, on the other hand, felt that the injury had provided an opportunity for both him and her to grow closer. He even felt that he was fortunate that it was him who had taken the hit, not her. When Patricia unwrapped the gauze and inspected Ella's wound, she furrowed her brows. Although the cut was getting better and had stopped bleeding, it had not fully healed because of how deep it was. After disinfecting it, Patricia carefully changed Ella's bandage. As the medication touched the wound, it went on to cause a bit of sting, which Ella seemed to be able to endure without flinching. "Does it not hurt?" Patricia frowned, feeling a little puzzled by his reaction or lack thereof. "It doesn't hurt at all when you do it." Ella shook his head and flashed her a foolish grin. What Patricia did not know was that there was no way it would hurt because she was there to take good care of him. If anything, joy was all he could feel at that moment. Patricia could only roll her eyes again and ignore Ella. After rebandaging his wound, she picked the first aid kit up and left. Hee. Ella looked at the neatly bandaged gauze and chuckled like the silly idiot he was. "It feels so good to have someone take care of me. Is she going to stay with me forever if my wound never heals?" He wondered to himself. However, by the very next second, Ella shook his head and killed the thought. "I can't have such thoughts. She might stay and take care of me if my wound does not heal, but I can't let her do this forever. Well, I should focus on recovering as soon as possible, so I won't have to put her through the trouble of taking care of me anymore." Meanwhile, outside the door, Patricia was shaking her head in exasperation. "What are you doing?" Charlie, who had appeared out of nowhere, asked. After looking up in surprise to see Charlie standing right in front of her, she asked, "What brought you here?" "I was just passing by, so I came to check things out." Charlie glanced at the medical kit in Patricia's hand and frowned. That's the secretary's job. He could not figure out why Patricia had to change Ella's bandage for him. "It's fine. I had nothing else to do anyway," Patricia answered without explaining much. Charlie, however, did not seem to care that Ella had saved her. Strangely enough, she could also sense that Charlie might be harboring some feelings of resentment against Ella. "How much longer are you planning to take care of him?" Charlie frowned and asked unhappily. "His injury hasn't healed yet," Patricia replied. She did not wish to discuss something for which the outcome was uncertain, so she changed the subject at once. "What brought you here? Do you need anything?" Even though Charlie was just passing by, Patricia knew he was not someone with too much free time to waste. If there was not something important, he would likely not even bother to turn up. "I just came to check on you," Charlie said after glancing at Patricia. "The investigation is ongoing, and there are no concrete results yet. Since that's the case, you should carry on with your work. I'll be fine here. Besides, I'm not the one injured, so I don't need anyone to take care of me," Patricia reminded Charlie. Charlie felt somewhat helpless in the face of her words, but it was true. He did not have a lot of time to spare. The only reason he came here was to tell Patricia that she would not have to stay here if it was not necessary for her to do so. He was aware of Ella's feelings toward Patricia, especially after this incident. And now, more than ever, he was even more certain of it. However, he felt that Ella and Patricia were people from two completely different worlds, and that things between them would not end well if they were to get together without thinking it through. After giving Patricia one last glance, Charlie drew a deep breath and left. Patricia bit her lip and sighed thereafter. She understood Charlie's intention, but there were just certain things she could not bring herself to do. Ella had gotten himself hurt because of her, so she would have to wait for him to recover before she could leave. Gritting her teeth, Patricia picked the first aid kit up and walked into her temporary office. The documents that had not been handed over to Ella were on her desk, which meant that she needed to handle them. Evening approached later that day, and when Nicole was done with her work, she got to the entrance to see that Jared was already waiting for her outside. After getting into the car, Nicole leaned back against the seat and sighed. "Turns out, not having Patricia around does affect me to some degree." When Patricia was around, she would take care of a large number of things on Nicole's behalf without having to ask for her opinions or instructions. Now that Patricia had gone over to Bay Corp, Nicole had no choice but to handle those little tasks on her own. Jared gently hugged Nicole and looked her in the eye. "Tell Patricia to come back if you can't take it anymore." After all, Ella was more than capable of taking care of himself. They could even hire a caregiver for him if needed. However, Nicole simply shook her head and said, "Patricia probably feels guilty because Ella got slashed trying to save her. So, we should let her take care of him for now." Nicole figured that Patricia's guilt would resolve once Ella's injury had been taken care of. As for the progression of their relationship, that would depend entirely on how they interact with one another. At the very least, there would not be a sense of Patricia feeling as if she was indebted to him once he had fully recovered. Upon hearing this, Jared did not insist any further. Instead, he decided to come up with a better solution. "In that case, I'll arrange for someone to help you out." "It's okay." Nicole smiled. "If this continues, all of your people will end up working for me." "They're not mine. They're ours," Jared corrected Nicole. Everything of his could be hers, especially at a time when he was simply trying to help her out. "No, really, there's no need for that. Before Patricia, I used to handle everything myself. It's just that Patricia does it so well that I've become a little lazy." Nicole shook her head, insisting on doing everything on her own. If anything, she should work harder during times like this. As Patricia had duties she was obligated to fulfill, Nicole should not depend on her anymore. With that out of the way, Jared smiled and pulled her closer to him. After a while, the two of them returned home. "Daddy, Mommy," Nolan and Lana shouted. The twins had already returned, and upon seeing their parents, they ran up to them. Jared lifted Lana up and made his way to the couch, his eyes filled with tenderness. "We're home," he greeted Daniel and Gloria as soon as he had sat down with Lana. After a while, Nicole came over with Nolan and joined them on the couch. After glancing around, she asked, "Mom, is Stanley not back yet?" "No, he said there's a seminar tonight, so he won't be back for dinner," Gloria explained. "There's no need to wait for Stanley. Let's go ahead and eat." "Okay," they agreed, whereupon the group headed to the dining room, save for the twins, who tottered their way upstairs while the four adults had their dinner. "I heard Ella got injured. What happened?" Daniel asked Nicole. As expected, the sudden question from her father surprised Nicole. "Dad, how did you know?" She had not told anyone except for those present on the day of the incident. Thus, she was surprised that Daniel had gotten wind of it. "I overheard Samuel mentioning it, but when I asked for details, he refused to say anything," Daniel explained. Because of this, his curiosity grew, leading him to want to know more about what had really happened. "Oh, he got a minor gash by accident. Nothing serious, but he's afraid that his parents might get too worried about him. So he told them he went abroad, even though he is currently staying in the office," Nicole explained, omitting the fact that the injury was severe and the reason for which he had been injured in the first place. "Ah, his mom is going to be very worried, all right?" Gloria nodded in agreement. "It's good that he's staying in the office and returning only once he has fully recovered." "But all he does is work. How did he get scratched?" Daniel asked, still puzzled. According to Samuel, the injury seemed quite severe. "An accident happened when we went out for dinner the other day. Otherwise, Samuel wouldn't have known either," Nicole explained, making up another excuse. Then, she quickly changed the subject. "By the way, Mom, didn't you mention that Emery was also going on blind dates? How did it go?" "He's doing quite well. According to your aunt, the two families are already preparing for an engagement," Gloria replied cheerfully as her attention was quickly shifted to the good news. "Oh, that's good." Nicole nodded, relieved. This would work in Ella's favor too. If Emery had something to keep him occupied, Emma would be less concerned about Ella. "Yeah, your aunt also said that she used to think Emery was harder to take care of than Ella, but it turns out that she was wrong," Gloria added. Initially, Emma thought that Emery would be the more challenging one for them to deal with, but with the recent developments considered, he was more than fine. When will they get engaged? Nicole asked in genuine concern, because they might be able to offer some help to Dexter's family if they needed it. The specific date hasn't been set because the two families are still discussing it, Gloria said somewhat regretfully. Anyway, I can't help but feel that Stanley and Cherry have been rather distant as of late. What's going on? Indeed, Emery was already preparing for the engagement, while Cherry had stopped all visits to them as of the past week. I can obviously see the difference, Gloria thought. Nicole hesitated. You should ask Stanley about it later. What do you mean? Gloria furrowed her brows, unable to shake the feeling that something bad had happened. Then she asked Nicole, did they get into a fight? For reasons she could not explain, Gloria could feel that Nicole was hiding something from her, and that was when she figured that something was indeed not right. Nicole then took a deep breath and forced a smile. I don't think so. It was not a lie for Nicole to say that. Indeed, they had not gotten into a fight, but the truth might be even more difficult for Gloria to swallow. Man, I guess it's true that once a lie is told, one would have to come up with countless more lies to cover it up, Nicole thought to herself. Since Cherry and Stanley's relationship was a ruse from the very beginning, they did not know how to explain anything to the family without shocking them. And to add to that, they would have to wait for Cherry to leave before addressing the situation. Moreover, if the truth was revealed now, it might affect Cherry's departure, and all of her efforts would be in vain as a result. You better not ask Nicole about this. She might not know as much as you think. It's better to wait for Stanley to come back, and then have him invite Cherry over. We'll know the answers to everything we want to know, Daniel advised Gloria, as he noticed that Nicole seemed reluctant to discuss the topic of Stanley's relationship. All right, let's get Stanley to bring Cherry over. She hasn't visited for a while. Gloria agreed. Once the father and daughter duo had spoken to Gloria, her attention had been successfully diverted, and she stopped pressuring Nicole any further into revealing the truth about Stanley and Cherry. Nicole then smiled at Daniel, appreciating that her father had helped her out. He did not want to put her in a difficult position, so he had come up with a diplomatic solution that satisfied both sides. Let's eat. Daniel nodded with a smile. After dinner, Nicole and Jared went upstairs to talk to Nolan and Lana. As for Gloria, she began to feel antsy after glancing at the time, causing her to remark, "Why hasn't Stanley returned yet? He has to handle everything before he can come back," Daniel comforted. Gloria sighed, and turned to the courtyard, hoping to see Stanley in the next few seconds. Seeing that his wife was still on edge, Daniel held her hand and said, "Don't worry. Even if he comes back now, you can't get him to invite Cherry over at this hour. Wait until tomorrow morning. It'll be the same anyway." Okay, Gloria nodded, feeling that Daniel's words made sense. Even if she was anxious, it was just not the right time for any of them to be addressing the elephant in the room. Let's go to bed. Daniel led Gloria upstairs. Meanwhile, Nicole and Jared had already gone to Nolan's room. Nolan was playing the same game as before. Although they knew there might be a problem, they had to continue watching him play to figure if their suspicions could be confirmed. Nicole's gaze was fixed on the computer screen as she watched Nolan play with great enthusiasm. Despite the possibility that the game could very well be a trap of some sort, nobody could deny that it was well made and fun for Nolan to spend his time on. Nicole then bit her lip and reminded Nolan, "Take your time. Mommy, this game is quite fun, but why am I the only one who is playing it? When I asked the other kids in school, all of them said they don't have it," Nolan asked Nicole while he played. "Yeah, Mommy. The other kids said they haven't even heard of it," Lana chimed in, also curious about why they were the only one who had it. After glancing at the two, Nicole softly explained, "Oh, it's nothing. It's just that they haven't come across it." "Will this game be promoted in the future?" Lana tilted her little head, focusing on the computer screen. It was interesting for Lana to watch Nolan play, though she herself did not understand the rules of the game and how to play it. "It seems unlikely." Nolan frowned. "The player experience is good, but the difficulty is just too high. If I weren't good at hacking, It was then that Nolan stopped mid-sentence, as if he had just realized that something was amiss. The fact that this game required hacking skills suddenly dawned upon him. If the game was given to other kids, they would not be able to play it at all. Nicole narrowed her eyes there and then. She knew Nolan had discovered the issue as well, but she did not know what he would make of it. Biting her lip, she patted Nolan on the shoulder. Take a break if you're tired.
Thank you for listening. If you have enjoyed this story, please like and share so others can see it too. Also hit the subscription button and notification bell so you can be notified on our next release. Thank you for your support. God bless you.